Hey!
Oh my
Who's that
God.
guy with the gray
That's
beard?
so cool.
See you later. It's got to go. Have another Zoom starting in 3 minutes. Earlier.
We love
Love
you.
Now they get
Hey,
to
listen, we're gonna get
Hey,
your
O'Malley,
contact
what's more
information.
important
We'd
than
love
this?
to have you.
What Zoom are you doing?
A guy from high school asked me to do something. It's much like this. I'm getting paid a ton of money. Guys, see you later.
Contact
Bye.
information.
I see you, Mike. See you, buddy.
All righty, everybody. That was a cool surprise. Well, welcome back. My name is Justin Brown. This program was brought to you by Residence Life and Housing Services. I'm here with my co-host,
Leah Paulson.
and we are here with some really awesome people today. We don't want to spend a lot of time giving introductions and bios because we all know that you know who they are. We're here with Mark Summers. He was the host of Nickelodeon's Double Dare. We're here with Summer Sanders. I'm just going in the order of I see you in my box. She was the host of Figure It Out. She's an Olympian. Phil Moore, Video Challenge, Nick Arcade, and we're here with Kirk Fogg. He was the host of Legends of the Hidden Temple, him and Omac, and we're here with Alicia Reyes. You know her from season 1 to season 3 of All That on Nickelodeon, and she is also helping to produce a documentary called The Orange Years. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Great. Absolutely great.
So
Good.
happy to be here.
Good, good, good. So how are you doing during the quarantine?
Trying to stay grounded, right? I've never cleaned so much, and the to-do list of life, I think, is halfway checked off by the grace of God.
Okay.
Alicia,
Okay.
how's your hair look so good? Everybody's hair, I look like an evangelist now or something. Your hair looks like
Thank
it's
you
amazing.
for noticing. I dyed my hair last night out of a box, and it turned out okay. At least it's not purple. Thanks for noticing, Mark.
It does look good.
Am I great?
I just want to say we had someone the other day from The Bachelor come on and speak to our students. It was about what, Leah, about 80 students, and all of them, they were all female except for one, and they all had their hair done, all had their makeup done, their best clothes, everything. So there
See,
are.
I think Zoom, you can be however you want to be. I think that's the beauty of it. You know, you just come, if you come too made up, people think you've got something wrong, something's going on. But back to your quarantine question, I have a 14-year-old and 12-year-old. So we've been homeschooling. Our kids do their school. They get outside. We live in Park City, Utah. So, I mean, just trying to make the new normal seem somewhat normal. That's our
Right.
goal.
Okay. Anyone else?
I feel like I'm on a cruise ship. You know, I get up, I eat, then I go exercise, then I go in the pool, sit and watch a movie, then I eat again. So, you know, you have to get yourself mentally prepared for this. And so I just feel like I'm on a cruise that's never going to end.
Okay, okay. I have a couple surprises for everybody that's on the show today. So my first surprise is, Mark, you don't even know, but you and I met a couple months ago in Philadelphia at the Double Dare that was held at the LaCordia Center, I believe.
Yeah. Did you enjoy the show?
I did enjoy the show. My wife and I both did. We actually got backstage. We got to talk to you for a little bit. We won some slime, which was really cool. It's for our 5-year-old daughter. But you were given a really cool award while you were here in Philadelphia.
As a matter of fact, I have it right here. I'm in my office. I
Oh,
got
okay. Let me
the
stop
version
sharing
was
so you can show it.
the key to the city kind of situation. And that lady was supposed to talk for about 20 seconds. I think she did an hour and a half special.
Yeah, it was pretty
off the stage. But
And
yeah,
then
I just got off a 70-city tour. We did 70 cities in about 18 months.
Wow.
Doing live to people across America, doing like 3,000-4,000 seat arenas.
Wow. And while we were there, you actually picked on my wife and I to do one of the games. So this is actually us right here participating on one of the games, which was really, really cool to do on stage. As you can see, we had 12 seconds left. So we were really nervous when we got up there, but we completed it. So it was cool. We didn't have to go back with feeling down about it because we actually won. So yeah, that was a really cool experience.
Yeah, the way we did this is when we took it out on the road, we had all the grown-ups who grew up watching the show, and then the new shows with Liza Koshy and myself, there was a younger generation. So the whole first half of the show was grown-ups against kids who could do a better job. And 9 times out of 10, the grown-ups did much better than the kids because they were more into it because the show was such a cult hit back in the day when Nick was first starting. We actually put him on the map. And it's a whole different feeling now to see the kids. They didn't have quite the energy and enthusiasm that the grown-ups did.
No. I think the adults were more excited about it than the kids. The kids are like, Mom, Mommy, Daddy, why are you acting like this? You know, so
So true. Absolutely true.
yeah. So speaking of cult classics, I have my shirt on from another cult classic. Kirk, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I see
How
that
you-
green monkey. Love the green monkeys.
The Green Monkeys were my favorite, but for whatever reason, the Purple Parrots kept winning every game. You know, I was so disappointed. I mean, as a child, that was so upsetting to me. I don't know why. How are you-
What is he grabbing?
Well, I brought a couple of things. I brought the purple parrots. Okay. All right, I got my purple parrot.
Aw,
Hold on. Let's make him the. Oh.
yes.
Oh man, the Purple Parrots, man, drove me crazy. And my sister always was rooting for the Purple Parrots because that was her favorite team. So she's probably small time geeking out right now. Purple Parrots hat. So how are you hanging in there, Kurt?
I'm all right. I mean, it's a kind of a weird thing because there's half. It's like a duality of personality. It's like half of me hates this whole thing. I hate the being shut down part. You know, I just hate it. And then half of me just love it. I love doing nothing. I'm reading, I'm like, you know, I'm cleaning, I'm doing yard work, I'm doing all these other things that I feel like I'm on this long vacation. The only problem with this vacation, it's not like a guilt-free vacation. I feel like I should be doing something. So it's like I'm going on a vacation with like a list of things to do, which I don't know. It's a very strange, it's not like when you go away, you know, and you feel like, oh, I'm just away. I feel like I'm away, but like a fireman ready to put on my outfit and.
Oh no, I totally
Lie down the
understand
hall.
that. And there's
I would like to point out to Kirk that they were shooting their show when I was doing What Would You Do, I believe, in the studio next door. And to this day, I still have never seen an episode of his program ever.
I'm glad you always remind everybody that you've never
I
seen.
do. I've never seen an episode of it once, and yet when you go online, there are people always fighting as to which show they like better, Kirk's or mine. So someday I must take a look at it because apparently it's coming back. By the way, on Quibi. Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
oh
Yeah. I heard that.
See.
Yes, and you get a pendant of life, Mark. There's your pendant.
I wish I knew what that was.
I know exactly.
Mark
Someday
is like, you guys are going to play hockey?
Listen, as a child, I had the worst nightmare ever that I was actually on Legends of the Hidden Temple, and I remember a temple guard grabbed me and took me back, and then when the show was over, he never released me. So it was one of those
That's
scary
some
nights.
deep stuff right
Yeah.
there.
It's not really.
We had temple guards at the synagogue I went to, I remember, but I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, it's not like things are reality like Nick Arcade. We got Phil Moore here. Phil, how are you doing?
You know, I actually been kind of busy. It hasn't really affected me like it has a lot of folk because I grew up an only child. So a lot of what I did, you know, when I would get home from school when I was younger, it would be, you know, come home, do your homework, can't get home till dad comes home from work. Mom was in school going for a master's. So sitting around just can't do anything, especially in the winter when it got dark on the East Coast. You're just sitting there. So I'm not freaking out over that. I'm kind of used to that. And then I was kind of keeping busy. I went from right when the quarantine started, I wrapped on a show that I was producing for Nickelodeon on Friday, March the 13th. And then I started producing a new one that's still in the works right now for Amazon Prime and Twitch, which is kind of ironic, the whole Circle of Life. It's a game show about video games. And so I went into the office on this new thing for 2 days, and then we were sent home. But then we just started doing everything else, the brainstorming with creative. We've been Zooming, so I've been still working, just kind of hanging out. And I don't really. And the other thing I've been doing is I've been like delivering toilet paper to family and friends. You know,
Okay.
I got some people who are giving blood. I got some people who are delivering food. I'm saving the world one butt at a time.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice.
Someone's got to do it, you know?
Somebody's got to do it, you know. And then we got other.
life.
Yep, another pendant. There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
Listen, at least you're accomplishing things that are going to matter. I asked my friend yesterday, I was like, you know, how are you doing? You know, what have you been up to? And she looked me right in my face and she said, I finished Netflix.
Wow.
prior.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that's intense. They need to put these shows on Netflix. I heard that Nickelodeon had some type of deal with Netflix. They could easily just throw these on there. People, I mean, they would trend immediately.
Very
I
true.
think we're on something called Pluto TV because I know Double Dare episodes are on that. I think
Okay.
Viacom owns that. So it's kind of all out there. Plus, you can go online and find all this stuff. Summer, what's up in your life? How are you dealing with this whole thing?
Oh, well, I'm doing good. I mean, as I said, my kids are a certain age where I kind of have to hold it together. We constantly check in with them because I think it's a big deal for two reasons. Part of what Phil is saying is video games. I mean, it's probably one of the stocks that actually shot up besides Netflix and
Mask.
right? These kids, they want to be on these video games all the time, and they have more time now that they're doing online school. So my kids finish school they're probably done with school before lunchtime. So then it's sort of making sure they can connect with their friends through video games, because it is a really interactive way for them to still be able to talk to one another and have fun. But then we get them outside. So, I mean, there's so much outside time in my life, which is amazing. And I said before, I live in Park City, Utah. So we've got the mountains. I mean, we were skiing, you just hike up with these skins. So it's just backcountry skiing. And we were doing that up until a week ago. So, and you're just in nature. So you're not jockeying for your 6 feet of distance away from one another. But it is hard being a parent right now. I do have to say, you do have to make sure you check in with your kids and say, how are you doing? Like, really, how are you doing? And my son was pretty sad last night because he just doesn't have this true interaction with friends. I mean, he can bike with them and they're going off these bike jumps, but they know they have to keep a certain distance and they want to do the right thing and they don't want to mess up. So that's my life right now. And then work, I was in New York shooting my sports show for CBS. I left there March 9th. I was just talking with my producers and they were kind of freaking out, thinking the last time we shot in the studio was literally the last day that New York was normal. So March 10th, I flew home that night. I flew home in a plane that was packed, and you could tell that everyone was sort of looking at the people around them, just hoping that no one was coughing and everyone seemed like they were healthy. And then you just made it home, and I went into quarantine for 14 days and I'm doing fine.
Scary when you see these pictures from Times Square and from Grand Central Station. I'm in New York at least 1 week a month, and the fact that there's nothing going on there, and restaurants, theater, I don't know when these things are ever coming back. It's the world as we knew it is going to take a long time to get back. Alicia, tell us about forgive me for taking over here, but about the Orange Years.
Do your thing.
Yeah, tell me about the Orange Years, because I think it's a very cool project and it's coming out soon.
Yeah, so for those of you that know, I'm from the original cast of All That, and now that it's back on the air, I'm on the new season, helping pass down the torch. So it's been literally a full circle moment for me this past 2019 going into 2020. And about a year ago, I linked up with Scott Barber, who is the director, editor of the Orange Years, and my business partner, along with a great group of guys. And it's about 80s, 90s Nickelodeon nostalgia. So, a good chunk of us, from Nickelodeon are a part of this documentary that just shows everything in a positive light. And it's really for the fans. We will be announcing, hopefully, sooner than later, hopefully like this summer. It did get picked up by a company, so it will be coming out soon. Now that we can't do theater releases, everything changes. So we're just trying to figure out exactly where the home's going to be, but trust me, it's going to be worth the wait. It's basically, we have you, Mark, in it. We have the list goes on and on with everyone that's in it. And for those that weren't a part of it, hopefully maybe we'll do another round of it, because I feel like the Nickelodeon family is just huge, and I miss you guys so much. Hopefully I'll be able to see you guys on the other side of the rainbow. But as far as like work-wise, yes, this has been definitely challenging for us that are in the entertainment business. But I do feel blessed. I do a lot of voiceover work as well. And I also teach acting classes when I'm not on set. So I've been doing like private sessions with my client, recording voiceover work. I'll be coming out with new episodes of my Disney cartoon called The Proud Family on the new Disney Plus later on. So everyone stay posted about that. It was a cartoon that was on in the mid 2000s with like Tommy Davidson and Kyla Pratt and Cedric the Entertainer, and the list goes on and on. So they picked it up for more episodes. Now it's going from Disney to Disney Plus. So at least, it'll allow, my fans that are Nickelodeon Disney related to get a chance to watch new episodes. And so, yeah, that's kind of what's going on in my end.
Awesome.
And Kirk is such a talented person. People are unaware of, I'm sure, all the work he's done. So why don't you update us on your life, Kirk?
Yes.
Well, I must wear the silver snake hat then for this.
That was my second favorite team. So if the Purple Parrots didn't win and they lost to the Silver Snakes, I was okay with it.
Yes, exactly. So basically, what I've done in the last 12 years of my life is I basically got into real estate development. So that's what I do. I'm one of those house flippers here in LA. And luckily, I just kind of got out of 2 properties right at the nick of time. And
See?
so they kind of in between jobs right now. So I do big high-end homes out here in LA, and it's been a great thing. It's like producing. I think it's a lot like producing, but you make money. So
So true.
Funny.
I like it.
Hey, Justin and Leah, we have questions from your students there?
Yeah, we do. So we're going to go ahead and jump into some of these. So the first one, we're going to ask Jen. So Jen, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. Looks like you have a bunch of questions. Go ahead and ask them.
Okay, first of all, I am dying. I'm probably, other than Justin, one of the oldest people. I'm not a student. I actually run Hillel, the Jewish group on campus. And
Shalom.
yeah, shalom. And Mark, actually, I worked across the street at the synagogue from Osteria, and a big fan of their pizza.
The best.
The
That's in
best.
Philly.
Yes, and it's very, very good. But if you don't know Osteria, you would, or if you know Osteria, you wouldn't think of their pizza. It's like, that's what you're going to go for.
Mark Vetri is the best. He's the chef, the king of all Philadelphia, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, so first I want to say Blue Barracudas for life. I always used to fight with my brother because I would say, we should apply for that show. And he would say, you would ruin it for me. You would ruin it. And we always would fight over, how did they do the Nick Arcade? How did they get to play the game? So big fan. But first question, Summer, who was your favorite cast member? I was always a big fan of Lori's.
Lori Beth.
Yes.
First of all, so Lori Beth was so clever and so smart and so competitive. So she always really, really played hard. As you know, I'm sure she was like the dream killer for all these kids because she would figure it out right at the very last second. And these poor kids weren't getting their trips to the
space
Exactly. So, but by far the best regular was Danny Tamborelli because he didn't really play. He was just having fun. He was just going to get slimed and then throw all his slime on the dog pound. But just the other day, I was on this call and there was a NFL player, Julian Edelman, who plays for the Patriots. And he has to do this workout video, and he had this childhood dream to be Richard Simmons. And I was like, oh my God, Richard Simmons was on Figure It Out. So the list of people that we had on Figure It Out was everybody from Joe Namath and Richard Simmons and Sherman Hemsley, Penny Hardaway, Dr. J. That's the part of it that every single day, and the longer the show was on, all these fun contestants that really had no clue what they were getting themselves into with that slime that would come on them was awesome. But Danny's energy was, you couldn't compare it.
Danny, who, by the way, is a new dad. I think he's
Yes.
He's got a little boy, and I think he's probably about 7 months old now.
I know, he's so cute.
So cute.
Mark, you have someone new in your family too, right?
Yeah, my second grandson was born 2 weeks ago on Monday. Tamborelli always makes me laugh. Whenever I run into him, he always makes me laugh. But Lori Beth is one of the funniest humans I've ever met in my entire life. And she just walks in the room and I just start laughing. And beyond brilliant. She's such a smart girl.
Yeah.
Beyond brilliant is right. Like that's the first thing I would say about Lori Beth is she is probably the smartest person in any room.
I agree.
Yeah.
Speaking of children, this is actually a question for all of you Nickelodeon stars. How do we get gas back on the air? Because I'm about to have a baby at the end of the summer, and I think she like can't live without knowing all that is Nickelodeon game shows. We really need to get that Gas Network back because it was so great getting to relive all those shows.
I guess we'll have to sign a petition or something.
I think they're getting rid of a lot of properties. I mean, they just sold off Legends to Quibi, and I think, in my opinion, some of the folks who are running the Viacom world don't understand what some of these shows meant to a particular generation, and they're sort of throwing them out there. And I really think, done properly, there's an audience because we're talking about another generation. And so if you can sit there with your kids and say, this is the show I grew up with, but TV's a different world now. And I think it's run so different than when it was back in the day when, keep in mind, we started Double Dare back in '86. Nobody there in the studio pretty much had any idea what the hell they were doing.
That's why it worked.
It's why it worked. And so the problem is you try to duplicate something that happened by chance. And that's always impossible to do. The next thing they tried to do after us was Finders Keepers, which was a major disaster. And trying to find lightning in a bottle twice is difficult. But then when they slowed it down and did Legends and Guts and all the stuff that Phil did, it was real. The hosts were real. The producers were real. And I think there's a legend of great shows that could be brought back.
I have to say, I think now would be the time because my kids, my family, we sit down after dinner and we watch a movie every single night, and we are bringing back movies from my youth, right? I mean, they've gone through every John Hughes movie that's been available, but I mean, everything from the Goonies and the Rudies and inspirational and funny, but I think now is the time. So I guess if you want it, Jen, you should start the movement and request it, because I do feel like networks have to start listening to people and listening to what they want. And I've always, many times when we'd shoot Figure It Out, there were moments, even though it was a kid's show, I was like, boy, this should really be a late night Figure It Out version. So not to say that these game shows just have to be for kids, right? So like you said, Mark, the things that you're doing right now and these adults that are getting so excited about their opportunity to play, I think adults would love to play in this. So I don't think it has to be daytime. And as much as you want your kids to see it, I think they would actually love to see adults being slimed and getting messy and creative and stuff like that, just as much as their own types. Thank you.
For several years, when I was living in Philadelphia producing shows for Food Network, during Beer Week, we would do something called Dunkle Dare, which was an X-rated version of Double Dare. And I got to tell you, nothing better than physical challenges, slime, and drunk people. It just works.
That's funny. We're also streaming on Facebook, and Dana B says, loved Phil on You're On.
Oh, the little You're On love. Yeah.
Yes. She says she only saw Nick Arcade on reruns. And I have to show my daughter, and I'm like showing her the Nick Arcade on YouTube. So when I reached out, I said, hey, I reached out to Mark, got a yes from Mark. My brother-in-law was like, man, you got to totally bring Phil on here. I don't know what Phil's doing, but he's got to be around. Like, get that Phil guy on here. And I was like, okay. Reached out to Phil. Phil was like, yeah. I was like, okay, let me reach out to Kurt. Couldn't find Kirk anywhere. All right. Had to go everywhere to find Kirk. Won't tell you how I found him, but I found him.
Oh, okay.
All right. He was there, found Kirk, then reached out to Summer Sanders, and her people were like, yeah, let's do this. So this has really worked out. And then I already had contacted Alicia, told her about it, and she was like, yeah, let's do it. So this is how this kind of worked out. I mean, we're able to touch so many more people now being separated than we ever were before, when we were able to see each other almost every day if we wanted.
Well, yeah, it's true. And it's interesting because back to the question about how to get back on, get gas back on. Everything that I've been doing right now, nobody wants to do anything that's on TV unless there's some streaming element that they could do. some element that it could bring in. And that would be great to kind of spearhead that, to see if there's some way to get it on some type of streaming service. With respect to You're On, the thing that I always, Summer, go back to something that Summer was talking about, a lot of us have been going around doing these conventions, Comic-Cons and things like that. I've done one with Mark, I've done one with Kurt. And it's really interesting because now you're getting like, used to be we'd get down on one knee to shake somebody's hand. And now these grown men are picking me up and swinging me around and introducing me to their children. And we wouldn't do like Dunkle Dare, but there were times when we would get there and we would have like a video game set up. We actually had a replica of the original Face Off game at one con that I was doing. And it was really cool watching grown people being able to play games and cuss when they got, when they got and there's definitely a place for it. It's really amazing. But the thing that's funny about You're On was everybody remembers Nick Arcade, and I love it. I mean, I have a career and I still have a life because of it. But it was interesting for me. It's sort of embarrassing because I didn't know what I was doing. I've told this story, and I'm pat Mr. Summers on the back once again here about we were trying to be cool. First TV show I'd ever done. Down in Orlando, we're on the sound stage. We're going through the normal rehearsal thing. Walking upstairs in the offices. I'm like, hey, Mark, how you doing? Hey, Phil, looks great. Went down there, stuck my head in, saw the set, looks great. How you doing? I'm like, I'm doing terrific, man. Can we go to your office? And we walk in the office, and I shut the door like, Mark, I don't know what I'm doing, man.
Do you remember, Phil, the time you came over to the place I was staying? It was called the Villas of Grand Cypress, and you guys sat there and picked my brain about hosting?
Oh, dude, listen, Mike O'Malley and I came over because Mike had already done Get the Picture first, but we were still kind of green as hosts. We both kind of came from stand-up comedy backgrounds, but Mark, he was the poster child for host. And so Mike and I went over and, we were like two guys, coming from a trailer park, walking into Mark Kardashian's place, putting our feet up. And that's the thing, he was very gracious to me, pick up brains. But the thing is, when I did Nick Arcade, I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, if I could go back in time, I would tell myself in my ear, it's Dr. Robotnik, not Robonek. I didn't know what I was doing. I pronounced these games wrong, these characters wrong. By the time I got to You're On, a very short-lived hidden camera show that I did in 1999, the last thing I did for Nickelodeon, I was a seasoned pro. I mean, if you watch episodes of You're On, I mean, not to compare myself with Mark, but I was like Brown Summers because it was like I could do that traffic copping. I could talk to the audience. I could talk to the contestants. I could throw to a clip, and it was like nothing. With Nick Arcade, I was like, where do I look? And I would fill the time and stall by making up those goofy songs. So much love to the person that remembered You're On, the show where I knew what I was doing.
Yeah. They're streaming on Facebook, so they are watching it. So there's a lot of comments that are popping up in here. There's a guy named Michael. He said, never missed a show with Mark when Mark did a show called Unwrapped. Never missed an episode.
Oh, that's a good one.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been very lucky. The people who grew up watching me on Nickelodeon from 86 to 94 followed me over to Food Network, where I've been. I started there in 1999, hard to believe. Unwrapped, I think now is the second longest running show behind Chopped. And then I exec produced Dinner Impossible and Restaurant Impossible, as well as. And so one thing we all fear, I think, who are on the screen, is you never want to be a one-hit wonder. I just want to make sure that there's something else behind it. And I love it, as I'll be 69 years old this year. And I love it when people come up to me and say Double Dare. But sometimes when I'm signing things, I'll say, do you want me to say, take the physical challenge? And they'll say, well, what? They never knew what Double Dare was. They only know me from Unwrapped, which is always sort of peculiar to me.
Very cool.
So, it's good that we've all of us have continued to work in the industry in some form or fashion. And I think we're all very lucky, and we appreciate, how much fun we've had and been able to do.
Yeah, they're not.
I have a funny story that goes off of that. I mean, I can't tell you how many kids really were convinced that I could not be the same person that won an Olympic gold medal. There was this swimmer named Summer Sanders who won a gold medal, but then there was Summer Sanders who hosted Figure It Out, and we were not related or anything.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious.
So I get what you're saying. Like, you do have a generational thing. I'll usually look at people and see, like, could they be a swimmer? They're probably Figure It Out, but maybe they're NBA. So those were my three lives were those three different generations. And I, like everybody on this call, I love the generation that watched Figure It Out. I like truly get them and love them. And I think they're such a dynamic and lucky and awesome generation to have had that super messy, spontaneous, creative television outlet for them.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
so complicated now for kids. There's so many things to watch. I don't feel like they're as loyal now as the generation that watched us.
Lots of choices now, you know?
There are, and it's.
Mark, what'd you say?
I just said there's so many choices now. You know, kids are walking around with phones and iPads, and
I know.
Where we were the only game on back in the day. I think to become the hit that we all were lucky enough to be a part of back in the day is very difficult to crack through. They're doing the kind of programming Nick is thinking of doing now is programming that moms and dads and kids sit down and watch together, which was never the purpose, because the theory back when I was there was the place where only kids win. So it was more about kids versus adults in a fun sort of way. So it's, I don't know, it's hard to tell. Alicia, how old were you when you started there at Nick?
Well, I did the pilot in 93, so I was like 12.
So you were a baby.
Yeah, and then I stayed with Nickelodeon until I was like 16, turning 17. We shot the pilot in the first 2 seasons in Orlando Universal Studios. So that's how I got a chance to meet all of you. But Summer and Phil, and Summer, when I did Figure It Out, I did it with Lori Beth and Josh and myself, and I was slick. I remember when that sign came, I just got up and moved. I was like, ain't nobody got time for that.
Your hair couldn't take it. You didn't want that.
My hair couldn't take it. But that was fun. That's what was fun about shooting at Universal is literally my backyard was like the Terminator ride, running to different people's set. At the time they were shooting Shelby Woo and U to U and Alex Mack and all these different things. You know what I mean? So it was great. Yeah. But then later on, I would say season 3, we came out to Paramount Studios and shot at the old Dr. Phil soundstage. And, the rest was history. Once all that came out to California, it really opened up a box. And I would say the show has been on, now it's on its considered 11th season, but the new cast is amazing. Shout out to the new cast. And what's great about all that on Nickelodeon is Brian Robbins was the creator of all that. Now he's the president of Nickelodeon. People that were like writers are now producers. Some of my co-stars are now EPing the show. And, some of us that are blessed to be able to come back and help pass down the torch. It's really been amazing because not everybody gets a chance to, revisit a show that they were on as a kid. So to be able to, like you said, Mark, have the parents watch us and now the new generation, that is what I guess the new normal is, especially with Nickelodeon. So yeah.
Summer, who produced your show?
Well, who was the producer? I don't know. Eileen Braun, I think, was the producer. Magda.
Magda, sure.
Magda, that sounds familiar.
Magda's still there.
Yeah, she was around for a long time. She was Albie Heck's right-hand person for a long time.
Albie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Albie was a part of it. I don't know. I mean, I would think he's probably executive producer, but Eileen was like day-to-day producer. Eileen started crying when Dr. J showed up on the set. I mean, it was pretty fun. I think that was like made her lifetime to be producer, had her hero walk on. But what's interesting about Nickelodeon is I work in sports. So I work for CBS, and CBS, one of their big properties obviously is the NFL. And Nickelodeon is now going to do something with the NFL because they have the Super Bowl this next year. So
I saw that.
They're trying to, maybe they're trying to get kids, right? As if kids need to love football more than they do, but they're definitely trying to get that generation, the young kids. But I also think what a great opportunity to get all of you guys, you awesome young adults here watching us, to connect in a different way to sports. So Jen, maybe that's a good time to try and get gas back and see if Games and Sports can't come off of a
Or
Super
start a
Bowl with
petition
it.
or something, right?
Right.
Would that be good? Do you feel like petitions work when people start petitions?
No, you gotta be at the table at the right time with the right people. But we need to get it all around full circle. I was so disappointed as, you know, I'm very proud to be a dad, but the other day I felt so disappointed in my parenting skills because my daughter's iPad wasn't charged and she had to watch TV. She didn't understand the concept of a commercial. She's like, well, let it go. She's like, change it.
God.
What is this? She's like, just put it on the next episode. I'm like, well, baby, you have to wait. She's like, why? Why do we and she's 5. She's like, well, why do I have to wait? Well, you have to wait, baby, because it's not on demand. Like, you can't just move it forward. So we gotta have these things come around full circle, and we're trying our best to share everything that we have.
So funny.
Keep in mind, we all grew up with, you know, channel 2, 4, 7, and 11, but now 200 channels. So you say, you know, I'm going to watch, you know, Blue Bloods or Law and Order, whatever. Well, Blue Bloods is on 17 channels and Law and Order is on 42 channels. But if you want to see something in particular, you got to go to. It's a whole different world. It's a whole different world.
We're gonna call on Brett. Go ahead, Brett. Unmute your mic and you can go ahead and ask your question.
Hey everybody, my name is Brett. I'm a longtime Nickelodeon fan. Nickelodeon played a huge part in my life. I had the opportunity to visit Nickelodeon Studios twice whenever I was younger. First time I got to go to the game lab, which was really cool. Whenever I came back home, I told everybody I was on a TV show. I wasn't, but that was still really cool for me. Second time there, I got to be an audience member for Slime Time Live, which was super cool. And that's whenever I knew I wanted to go into video production in my life, and that's what I wanted to do. And since then I have done that. That's how I make a living now, video production, and I've done some on-camera stuff too. So it's really kind of, you know, bound to me. Nickelodeon kind of got me into that whenever I got to see the cameras and lights and how everything works. So a big thank you to all of you for luring me down to Nickelodeon Studios, because that's what got me there. So thanks. Also a huge Nickelodeon collector. I know Summer already pointed out, I do have a piece of the Figure It Out set here, Coolio's name tag. So one of my questions is, what happened to the sets and things? Because I've looked a lot for sets and props, and that stuff is so rare. Do they store that away? Do they destroy that? What happened?
You know what happened to most of it? They kept it outside because it was Orlando, and it got rained on, and eventually the original set of Double Dare just rotted away.
Aww.
So everything has been built and rebuilt. And so none of the original stuff exists anymore. It all just kind of fell apart because they didn't take care of it. The only thing that I know that still exists, and it's in somebody's office in New York, is my original podium from Double Dare that we started with in Philadelphia. Still exists in somebody's office up in New York, but everything else is totally gone.
I will say that being on the new season of all of that, we have a little mascot called the Big Ear of Corn. So the Big Ear of Corn was on when I was originally on. And I remember when I was doing a table read, I was like, oh my God, the Big Ear of Corn's here. Where is it? And I was running around looking for it. I heard it was missing. And then all of a sudden I see the prop man making a brand new one. And I was going up to him and giving him a hard time going, that's not the way the other one looked.
Well, you know, when we first started using slime on Double Dare, it was basically applesauce and vanilla pudding and green food coloring, sometimes some oatmeal. But now they have a company that does nothing but make slime exclusively. So when we were doing the new episodes, we literally spent a day studying the viscosity of the slime that we wanted and how much did we want it to run down, and was it going to be drippy, was it going to be thick? So it's a whole other world over there now, and they have people who are executives who actually study this, because when we went on tour we had to have the proper thickness of the new slime.
Well, Mark, look, it's so funny. On the show that I wrapped on, it's called Ryan's Mystery Playdate. There's another producer named Steven on there, and we were getting to like these debates over, that's not real slime. No, this was it's applesauce. That's not real slime. We go back and forth, but yeah, it's so
Stephen Rath.
Yeah, it's this guy right here. Thanks for calling me out. Good, how are you? Good to see you.
Well, what's with the hair here? Holy cow, what's happening?
We go back and forth on what is slime and what isn't slime. We'd be in our office going, because he's a producer on the same show, And we would go back and forth on this. I'm like, that's not real slime. Not walk away like a grumpy old man.
Well, I did want to say one thing. Josh, Lori Beth, and I got tied to the geyser that went off every 15 minutes inside Universal in Orlando. It was like during a Snick special, and poor Josh had like bronchitis, and I was like wanting to leave because I had like, you know, my first date or whatever as a teenager. And I remember the slime, like you said, Mark, was the green dye and the applesauce. It literally was everywhere. I was crying to my mom, like, I'm green. I don't want to go on this date. And now getting slimed on the new season of all that, because of course, you know, they have to slime me again.
Of course.
The consistency was so different, yet at the same time was everywhere. And I don't know what was better or worse.
It's a lot heavier than it used to be.
Yeah, it's totally heavy. Yes.
Ours, the slime we haven't had on Figure It Out was vanilla pudding and green food coloring.
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. And it was like huge vats, and it was a guy with a giant stick, and it smelled so good because it just smelled like vanilla.
It's delicious.
But they kept it in a refrigerator, so it was freezing cold when somebody got slimed. And so that's half of the reason why people, well, you moved away, but
I moved.
It's half the reason why people screamed, because it's so shockingly cold. But Danny,
The guy by the name of Seth, who was the GAC master in Orlando, and he would make that stuff up every day. It was fantastic.
We were on the road, Mark, Mike, and I, you know, we all individually had our own touring shows, and we would make it like every show. You get to a city, somebody would make it. I always thought it would be a weird psychological test for some college, because at times I would like do little things for people like, hey, can you come to my kids' Cub Scout thing? And I mix it in front of them. But before I put the green in it, you'd have those little spoons like you get at Baskin Robbins, and everybody wants to taste it. So you put that green in there, like, oh.
Hey, Phil and I went to do a Comic-Con in Oklahoma a couple of years ago, and there was a tornado the night before we were supposed to do it. You remember we were in this hotel, it lost all the electricity. It was totally insane. These are the kind of things that people don't get to know. Hey, could somebody put a mirror underneath Kurt Fogg and see if he's still alive? I just want to make sure he's still there.
I checked, he's there.
I think he's still there.
I have one more question, guys. One more question. I am a ghost hunter, okay? I want to know, was Nickelodeon Studios haunted?
Yeah.
Well,
you know, we hear a lot of stories about like theaters, and I've done like some news shows, and they say the new studios are haunted. And I was just wondering, Nickelodeon Studios, any ghost stories, or do you guys believe in ghosts or anything like
I feel
that?
like I felt more energy when I shot season 3 of all that at Paramount Studios, just because that was like the epitome of old Hollywood compared to Universal Orlando, which we bestowed with nothing but positive energy. So, you know, there were moments where if I was alone on the sound stage ever during a lunch break running around in an area I shouldn't be, but I didn't feel a heebie-jeebie vibe. If anything, maybe like in the wardrobe room where all the old costumes were, wherever it holds old residual energy, that's the hippie in me, is where I probably felt it the most. But I'd say Paramount Studios for sure had some kind of vibes.
I wouldn't say it's ghosts, but I always felt paranoid because of the studio, they had these big soundproof glass containment for the tours to go through that were like above you. And so, you know, even if you were just on an empty sound stage, don't pick your nose because somebody's watching.
You know, that was it.
That's
They
funny.
made us all part of the tour. And the one
Yes.
thing that I used to hate was when we were getting made up in the morning for Down There, What Would You Do? They would have a microphone. So whatever you would say, the tour would hear. And I said, you know, you guys can't do that because I'm, you know, a little more in my 40s. And I said, you know, sometimes I say words that shouldn't be said. And they said, I'm sorry. So they brought down all the executives from Universal and said, I'm sorry, you have to deal with this. So I went in there late at night and I took the microphone and I took the guts out of the microphone and sealed it back up. And it took them like 3 weeks to figure out what the heck went on there. But I was able to get away with it for a few weeks anyway.
That's hilarious.
That's funny. Hold on, I want to jump onto another student's question because we have just a couple more. I want to go with Emily. Emily, go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, Justin. My question's for Mark. So again, it's about Unwrapped because me and my dad always loved that show growing up. So I'm wondering what it was like for you to go from an audience from Unwrapped, who typically older, to kids game shows with, you know, little children, younger audience.
Well, Food Network did a lot of research. and found out that the kids who grew up watching me were now viewers of Food Network, and this is back in the early days because Unwrapped started around 2000. And I was very lucky that the kids who grew up watching me on Double Dare and What Would You Do followed me over to Unwrapped, which made it once again one of the longest running shows. And it was fun. The producing thing came afterwards, and I've actually been at Food Network much longer than I was ever at Nickelodeon. I was at Nick from 86 to 94. And Food Network, I started at 99, and I'm still consulting and doing stuff over there. So it wasn't that difficult a transition. And the problem is, and everybody on the screen can tell you, if you're successful in one thing, you tend to get typecast. And for years, when I would have an article written about me, it was always kiddie show host Mark Summers. And I never wanted to host a kiddie show. I always wanted to host just a game show. But back in the day, all the game show hosts like Bob Barker and Bill Cullen and all those guys were older and had gray hair. And back when I started on Nick, the reason I got the job was, it's a whole long story, but basically I was 34 when I started, but I looked like I was 24. Back in the day, I looked much younger than I do now, needless to say. And I wasn't allowed to talk about having a family. I wasn't allowed to talk about having kids because they thought it might taint the audience that was watching. So the rules were a lot different back then. But, you know, I always loved Nick because it put me on the map. But I think some of the most fun I ever had was over at Food Network doing the kind of work I got to do over there. And I appreciate you watching all those years. Thank you very much.
All right, we got another question from Katrina. Katrina, you're on. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm a really big fan of all of the shows so far, but I'm also a big fan of Food Network. I really liked Unwrapped and Dinner Impossible. So I was wondering if you had any fun memories from those shows.
Well, Unwrapped, you know, we initially started doing that in a diner sort of situation outside of Denver. And then we eventually moved it into a studio that was a fake diner. And then towards the end, we took it out on the road. You know, because I didn't get a chance to interact with a lot of people, there weren't a lot of stories from there. I did learn a lot about food, needless to say. The Restaurant Impossible experience was probably the most unusual because, especially when we did an ambush version, because we would literally knock on people's doors in their restaurants and surprise them. And, you know, Robert Irvine walks into a place and he's like the 50,000-pound gorilla. He's the nicest, sweetest man in the world, but he can scare the living hell out of you. And so we would have a lot of people that we would have to convince to move forward because they were just so intimidated by him. But it always worked out for the best. And, you know, it's interesting about the timing, and somebody else said it here, that Gas would be the perfect network to bring back because of what's going on now. And Food Network's ratings are higher than ever because what are people doing? We're all sitting home cooking and interacting with our family. So those kind of shows, I know that, I think, is it Amy Poehler that's getting ready to do a new show on Food Network because her husband's a chef. So food is a comfort thing. The way Paula Deen actually got on Food Network back in the day was after 9/11. They were looking for somebody who was a warm and fuzzy person to be sort of the mom in the kitchen, and that's how she ended up on the air. So it'll be interesting to see how programming changes. I just read that HGTV is putting on a new show where comedians are going to be watching House Hunters, and they're going to make comments about the people who are trying to find the new houses. So the way TV is being done now, out of people's bedrooms, basements, offices, is, I think, going to change the way TV as we know it is going to be when this virus goes away, which is hopefully soon.
Yeah, let's hope that it's definitely soon. Listen, I will never live this down if I do not ask this question. This question is for you, Kirk.
Yes.
Why did people struggle so much in putting that darn monkey together? All right. You saw other people fail on the other shows. People watch this. They studied this. I'm sure there are classes on this. You put the base on first, which the feet are first. You put the body on and you slam the head down. It is not that difficult. Why did people struggle with that so much?
Because you have to run the 100-mile-an-hour dash and then get to it and do it. And so you're completely out of gas. I didn't understand it either until I used to run the temple before each season just to see if I could make it through. And I wanted to make sure that I had the physical stamina to do it. You go through that temple, by the time you get to the monkey, you are so gassed that you cannot think in your head. So everything just looks like, and then we're up there screaming at him anyway. So we're trying to help him. We're like, put the bass on, turn it around. So It's difficult.
I saw one of the episodes where the base actually fell off and you had to stop the filming. I saw like a behind the scenes like
Yes, I caught it.
I saw another thing where like
I caught it.
oh, say that again.
I caught it.
Oh, you caught it.
Yeah, I
Did
caught
you just
that.
like toss it back up? It's always on the second floor.
There was also somebody who threw up, but I didn't catch that.
I was gonna say, Kirk, I think Josh Server and I like snuck onto your soundstage and tried to like run your whole course. Wasn't Josh on your show?
And Josh who?
Josh Server from my show, All That.
No, he wasn't.
I was gonna say, I
he's
think
actually a contestant.
I was gonna say I thought he was a contestant or did something back in the day. In the
I don't know. It'd be hard.
I don't.
Well, you film 5 shows a day, right?
Oh, yeah, that 12-year-old kid. Yes, I remember.
You filmed 5 shows a day, right? And then they took all the teams. So like you had everybody come.
Yeah.
They did the water challenge first, then the individual challenges, and everybody just did the temples. What, I guess in the evening time, mid-afternoon?
You remember? Also, by the way, I was saying that I thought Nickelodeon was haunted. I did think it was haunted because I literally thought my first season was a nightmare.
Oh.
Why? Because I got thrown onto that show by one 30-second audition from Universal Studios in LA, and they booked me and flew me out to Orlando and had me do this show, and it was so complex and so, I mean, first of all, I'd never hosted a show before in my life, and they threw me in the middle of this, and they were so busy trying to figure out how to put the show together that everybody forgot about me, and they were like, and then host it. And I'm like, okay, what exactly does hosting mean? And then of course, Mark was there, and he was no help. He didn't like around me. I saw him, he was all cool and calm walking down the thing, and I'm like, I'm freaking. I don't know how to host the show. And they actually literally, at one point I go, listen, I don't know how do you do 3 cameras? It's a live audience. What are you doing? I was a commercial actor. And I'm like, what do you do? And they go, here. They gave me a bunch of game show tapes from one of their shows that they did. And so I sat in my hotel and just looked at them over and over and over again. It was a nightmare. It was
I see that you have the red Jaguars on. I don't think they ever won that many. Whenever they got it, I was like, Mom, we can just have dinner. The red Jaguars.
Group, but they could never win anything.
But hey, Justin, you know what?
By the way, I just want to say, just before we finish, though, I have to say my favorite all-time host by far was Summer Sanders.
Kirk, look at that.
Girl
My
power.
goodness. Thank you.
Go ahead, Phil.
I'm out now.
Not to buff that halo over Summer's head. Right now, I'm working with the co-EP of the show that I do for Nick now. Is Jeff Sutton, the guy who did the reboot of Figure It Out. And every time he mentions Figure It Out, I'm like, you're not the host of Figure It Out. Summer is the only.
Summer.
That was kind of brutal. That was kind of brutal to hear it through the interwebs that Figure It Out was coming back, and everybody was texting me and emailing me and saying, this is great, Figure It Out's coming back. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I get it. We grow out of a certain stage of what we do, but I will forever love that show. And like I said, I think there's a late night Figure It Out that could be pretty fun. That could happen.
Kirk, were you ever on Figure It Out?
Say it again.
Was Kirk or Phil ever on Figure It Out?
I was on like 25 times.
You know, they would not put me on that show. Eileen kept me off that show for some reason.
Really?
I have no idea. I always called to want to be on it, and she wouldn't allow me on the program.
That's weird. We were all on it except you, Mark. That's weird.
Except me. I'm the only one.
Kirk, were you on it?
No.
Well, wait. Here's the great thing. Summer remember this. This is what was really cool about the people, the team that figured it out. I was on it. I've been on it a few times. And a lot of people don't know this, but one of the charade brigades, the little boy named David, he's my son. So he was a regular cast member as the charade brigade. And there was one summer in which my mom and dad came down to visit me. And unbeknownst to me, sitting there in the first seat where the grown-ups sat, David came out, did a little charade brigade. I'm sitting there. I think I got slimed. The second time the charade brigade came out, they replaced all of the children with my parents.
What?
Really?
Yes. So my mom and dad are really looking like they're like weird pop and lock people from the 70s, not knowing what they're doing. And I couldn't answer because I was just like, I
remember that. I remember that.
That was
yes,
insane.
I totally do.
And that's what I mean. Like, again, Kirk not knowing, me not knowing, mom and dad not knowing. Nickelodeon would throw you on there if they felt it was right, as long as they know that the kids would be entertained, and it was gold.
Yeah.
Right.
Amen.
Now, does anybody ever recognize you all when you're in town? Like, I feel like, or like when you're anywhere, because I feel like if I was at a gas station, I'd be like, yep, that's Phil Moore. Phil. Oh, he's not looking. Never mind. Like I would do that.
At all. I'm from Baltimore, and I go home quite a bit, and I have friends in different cities. I always get surprised when I get recognized outside of a con, because when you live in LA, I realized that I was very fortunate, very blessed to be a big fish in a little pond called Orlando, because I remember the day that I was like 1 year into LA, and I was like buying some headphones at a Target, and I looked over and saw this big giant guy who was the bodyguard of Usher. So like nobody was going, hey, that's Phil Moore. But when I travel outside of LA, go back to Florida, go back to Baltimore, visit some family in DC. Yeah, it happens. And I'm always surprised because having been out here for as long as I have now, you get used to just being, hey, that guy.
Yeah, I've been on TV for 35 years, so I get stopped on a regular basis no matter where I'm at. It's just part of the deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
My favorite thing is people will come up to me and they will think maybe we went to high school together.
That's what I always get.
Yeah, like I know you from somewhere, and then that's when I do the size up. I try to figure out, like, do they look like maybe they were a swimmer?
Figure out.
Or maybe it was like inside stuff, So I try to play along. I try to make sure that we get to the bottom. Sometimes, you're just passing by and you don't have enough time to make the connection with them. But listen, if it's a Nickelodeon fan, I will sit there and talk Nickelodeon if I am not rushed off to an airplane. Like who was my favorite contestant, and again, like everybody wants to know about Danny and Lori Beth and all those guys, and they really always want to know if they ever cheated, because Lori Beth was so
good.
Never knew him. I knew it obviously, but they never ever knew it. She just really played hard.
I'd say a lot of people, I played a character named Kiki the Island Girl, so a lot of people would be like, Kiki. And I just did this whole 25th anniversary with Lori Beth because we did the Island Girls together, so that was really like surreal and emotional. Yeah. I was like, it was funny because like mid-taping in front of the live studio audience, originally they were going to make it like a 15-year anniversary, and they're like, make it, let's say 25. I was like, come on, stop aging us, we're immortal. But I feel like no matter what, I mean, for me, I will say out of my cast, a lot of cast members have grown to look a little differently and changed a little bit. I mean, I feel like I stayed a little bit the same. I don't know if I've changed that much, but overall, I would say we have a great loyal fan base, and I think we can all relate to that. And no matter what, there's diehard Nickelodeon fans that are going to be with us forever. Right, guys?
Right.
Forever. Yeah.
Great. I think so.
Kirk, I would know it was you. If I saw you, I would have been like, oh, Mac. And if you turned around, I'd be like, yep, that's Kirk Fogg.
That's one of those frightening things. That I'm like Summer. I'm the same way. I did so many commercials over the course of 20 some years that I can't tell whether, because I get a lot of people go, I know you, do I? And I usually try to, I'll try to go along with it a little bit, but I usually think they know me from commercials because I'll do some, anyway, I've been in for so many years. So I don't know about the game show. It's hard because when people grow up, like when I was, the adults never really know who you are, because I always get this, they go, oh, I never watched the show. I'm like, I know, because your child did, so it's the children that have to grow up and kind of recognize you. And that's, and I wasn't like Mark, I didn't have a ton of shows after that. So I'd have to like actually tell them who I am, and that's embarrassing. Hi, I'm Kirk Fogg.
Well, as a kid, like I think I might have prematurely jumped that. Go ahead, Kurt.
No, go ahead.
Did you finish? There was like a lag. There was a lag, so I wasn't sure. But like as a kid, I think everybody wanted to be on these shows. I think everybody was like, "Oh, I could totally be on Nick Arcade. I could totally, pick the nose on Double Dare. I could totally." Summer, I forget the guy's name, and the scoreboard had a name. I just remember it being a big face and him coming out and it being like,
Billy the Answerhead.
Billy the Answerhead.
Yes.
I remember I wrote a letter to Nickelodeon saying I wanted to be on Figure It Out because the address was on there. But at the time as a kid, I did not know you had to put a return address. So when it didn't go out and it was still in my mailbox, I said, Nickelodeon doesn't want me, Mom. I don't have any special talents. I can't do it, Mom.
Justin, we wanted you. Look it, we're here with you.
Right? Listen, it was supposed to happen this way.
Yeah.
So I want to be a good steward of your time. I want to say thank you so much for everybody coming out. We've been doing this thing called where we allowed our special guests to give us like a send-off. So if there's something you want to leave with the students or something you want to just say to the audience that's watching, you can literally say whatever. Because there's 5 of us, we may want to cut it down. All right, Phil looks like he has the secret to life. He could probably sit here and talk to us for like 15 hours on all the things that he knows. But just whatever you want to leave with your audience, you all will take us out. So let's start with Kurt. Let's start with you.
Geez, you're gonna start with me, of course. Well, I don't know what it is you're trying to do out there in the world and in college and all that, but if you're in the entertainment business, good luck. I don't know what it means to be in the entertainment business this time. Like, what I was trying to do when I was growing up is different than my parents before me and all that. So the world has changed, and good luck in all your endeavors. And there's a million times that you can keep reinventing yourself. And if you're in this business, just remember that you can just keep reinventing yourself, because this business is about a million breaks, not just one break. It's a series of breaks. You have to have a series of breaks to stay in this business.
Let's go with Summer.
Well, dream big, have fun, and work hard. But above that, because I'm speaking to this awesome generation, you guys grew up with this amazing, spontaneous creativity. It was at your fingertips. You loved it. So be different, think differently, and inspire other people to do the same. So don't be one of many, be unique. And I can't wait to see what you guys do.
Elisa.
I just feel in life we need to manifest. I'm really big on the law of attraction. What we put out comes back to us. So right now, I know what's going on is overwhelming. Take it as a reboot, recharge, redo, and just be the reflection you want to see in others. And I love you all and sending so much love and light.
Phil and Mark, I'll let y'all fight to the death. I mean,
oh.
Yeah.
No. I will definitely sit in the co-pilot seat. But the one thing I want to say, the quick thing is, just be kind to people. My career in being on television got started not because of anybody going out of their way to do something. People try to do things to make an impression, but it's the things that people do that when you're not trying. That's what makes a difference. I mean, all the lectures I try to give my kid, he watches what I do. My career got started because of just a couple of kind words from Dick Clark, and he wasn't trying to give me any advice. He just said something nice, and it made a difference, So just be kind to people, because you never know that even when you're not trying to be an influence, you are influencing people.
Guess that's you, Mark. You got to take us out.
Let me sum things up by, first of all, on behalf of all the folks here from Nick, we thank the loyal people who have been kind enough to hang with us all these years, and it means more than you know. I think life is about passion, and if you don't have a passion, it's very hard to kind of go after. I always feel bad for people who get up every morning and hate their job, and I've never worked a day in my life because I've gotten to live the dream. So if you find that passion and you can't instill that in anybody, I think that's half the battle. And I'll just leave you with these words. It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. Everybody be safe.
There we go. All of your 90s people here, everybody, thank you so much for coming out today. I mean, you are solely responsible for everyone having great childhoods. I honestly and wholeheartedly believe that. And Mark, before I get off here, if I don't do this, I'm telling you, I'm not going to have a sister-in-law anymore. I promise you. But she told me that she went and she spent loads of hours of finding her time when she was on on Double Dare. And I don't know how she found this video.
That's amazing.
She has been searching because she knew this was going to happen. And she's like, I want you to ask Mark if he remembers me. And I was like, I don't think that that's a thing. So, but
yeah, 580 episodes. It's hard. I had a waiter once at a restaurant come up to me and he said, hey, how are you? And I said, fine. He said, do you remember me? And I said, no. And he goes, well, I was on Double Dare. I said, well, how old were you? He said, 12. I said, how old are you now? He said, 22. And I said, I'm sorry, but I don't remember. All bent out of shape. I'm sure he spit in my food. So I always appreciate being there, but the fact that any of us can remember anything, and plus I'm old, and just to figure out how Zoom works now.
Yeah. Well, her name is Nina, so you could tell her, say Nina that you remember her, so that she could say.
Ready?
Her name is
Nina, you were amazing. Of all the contestants we had all those years, you were my favorite. Thank you so much for being a part of our show.
There you go. Thank you all for coming out. Tonight we have the Bachelor, Bachelorette. Who do we have tonight, Leah?
Yeah, they're Jared and Ashley. They're a bachelor couple.
So we look forward to seeing you in a few hours. Thank you all for coming out. We'll see you soon.
You guys.
To all of our guests.